Good day, Transformers fans. Got another Transformers review for you, or not Transformers review for you. This is not an official Transformer. It's a third party from FansToys. It's FT-40A HANNIBAL, which is their interpretation of Fortress Maximus's head Cerebros. And I've got a couple of other FansToys offerings in behind there. I got their Dinobots, which are amazing. You take a look at those someday on the channel. There's just never enough time. The time to get these is when they first come out, and this one came out last year, so if you want it now, you're not going to be able to take advantage of some of the early bird offerings. You're going to have to pay. And I took a peek over at Big Bad Toy Store, and they do have some for sale there. Unfortunately, they're quite a bit more than what I paid for it. I found it on a flash sale on eBay around the time they first came out. If your bills are paid, if you've got all the food you need for the week, and if you've been saving up for a while, maybe sell some other stuff, and you really love Fort Max, then Big Bad Toy Store is one of your few options to still get this guy. But here's a look at the box. Really nice glossy box, surprisingly wide for not that wide a Transformer, but that's because he comes with a really cool accessory. He comes with this awesome base. Also comes with a sword. And yes, this is the head of a planned Fortress Maximus, and I believe they're estimating it to be around 4 feet tall. I mean, the original one was 2 feet tall, so this one would be in scale with Masterpiece Transformers, and that would be just insane, the size of a small child. But until that comes out, if it ever comes out, we've got Cerebros, as well as a pretty cool looking Cerebros head mode. Let's open up the box and take a look at Hannibal. And here's Hannibal outside the box, and he is significantly different from what's pictured on the box. Oh, wait a second. Little mix up. There's the right Hannibal. You know, I've actually been asked to stop joking around like that and take my toys more seriously, but I know at least one guy in Memphis who will appreciate that A-Team joke, so that was worth it. This is Hannibal right here, and despite being a third-party company, FansToys is pretty big by this point, and they actually do have quality control. So there's this little quality control sticker on here, which I'm going to peel off. And this dude is humongous. He's much bigger than the standard Autobot car size Masterpiece. He's the same size as Masterpiece Optimus Prime, so I'll pull out a couple of other Masterpiece Transformers in a few minutes to give you a comparison. I'll just give you a 360 view, and he's pretty spectacular. The thing about Cerebros is that he can be kind of boring looking with all the gray. They went with gray because he's Cerebros. He's the head and brain of Fortress Maximus. So he doesn't really have a lot of flashy colors. And since it is based on the Japanese Headmasters cartoon, instead of the Rebirth American version, there isn't really all that much detail that they can add to this, but if it was there on the show, they've stuck it here on the figure. Looks really cool. Really, really nice paint job on it as well. For people who aren't familiar with FansToys, we're at the point where a lot of their stuff is actually better quality than Hasbro. You're still going to have your lemons, and sometimes they put something out that just has mass problems to it, but playing around with this guy, I haven't really seen any issues with him, aside from things not wanting to stay closed like that. That'll pop out, and earlier you saw a leg panel was popping out, but it's pretty easy to just squeeze that stuff all together. I really like the paint job on it, even though it's gray. What they have done here is add just the tiniest bit of shimmer. It's not really metallic, but it is a really almost, well, here on his backpack you can sort of see it. It doesn't have a texture, but it looks like it does. Kind of almost metal looking. more metal than plastic looking. Articulation on him is crazy. Really, really awesome articulation. And this is standard on a lot of Masterpiece and higher end Transformers. These little hip things that come up to give you more clearance. And over in the back here, see when you try to put his foot forward, he starts to hit one of these back panels, which I guess remain in the way. It's too bad. As part of the transformation, it looks like that can fold, but for leg range, well, you can push the leg in and out. It's got this, again, as part of the transformation, but you can use it for some articulation. You can use that to shimmy it in behind that part. Same thing with here. The trickiest part to posing him in a Spartan kick is getting this hand to stop flopping around. I guess it's because I got the sword in his hand, which is making it a little heavier than most hands are, but look at that. That is awesome. This foot right here can pivot, tilt, and get him in some really, really nice dynamic poses. And the nice thing about the head is removable. Spike or Fortress, if you prefer the Japanese continuity, can turn left and right. Kind of gets in his own way back here when you're trying to turn it more than that, but you don't really need to. That's about the range that it would be. And unfortunately, can't look up or down. When you try, he pops off. But he's got enough range to look to the side if you want him blasting sideways. Nice ratchet joints in the arms. Splits I don't think are possible because of this, and who cares. Let's see if he can double hand the sword, because that's such a rare thing. He does have enough range that, look at that, cool. Gotta say, it's more range than a Super 7 Lion-O has. Might not be exactly proper form, but the thing about a sword is, doesn't matter how you hold it, if you swing it at a person, it's gonna do some damage. And that's the point. And he can also do Nerdmas Day. He's also got a thing right here, just like the original chest panel, that'll pop open. But, oh, there we go. So this, I believe, is supposed to be able to open up. And I can't get it open.
Open! Damn it, open!
Without feeling like I'm gonna break it. So, since this guy is such a high-priced guy, I am not gonna risk that, but you still are able to see what's in there by just opening up this whole panel, which is part of his transformation. So they've recreated this part as well. You've got the speed, strength, and intelligence meter, and just like the original Headmasters, when you remove the head, they all zero out, and then when you pop the head in, all the meters go up. And he also comes with an extra hand, which is in a permanent sword holding position, specifically made for that point the sword at the sky. And to get that on there, all you gotta do is slip the hand off of the ball joint with a little bit of force. Okay, a lot of force. Actually, too much force. So I just unscrewed these two screws a little bit, which made it a lot easier to take off, and then you can take the other hand and just Try to slip it on. That's easy. No screws on that one, so that one pops on and off a lot easier. But see how it's permanently stuck in a down position? So now you can take this tab and feed it into the hand, like so. Once you get it in like that, you can just slide it down in there. And now you can pull out this translucent orange that really lights up nicely base, which you can either put the head on in head mode, or it opens up to hold the Master Sword like it did on the show. So because his hand is now in this proper tilting position, you can feed it into the base like so, and it has a little arm right there which will grab the handle, so that Cerebros or Hannibal can just grab the tip of it as if he's pulling it out of the base. Very Arthurian look to it. Arthur pulling the sword from the stone. And the position of the hand allows him to point the sword straight up. The biggest problem with that the hand is fine, but the head can't look up. If the head could look up, it seems like when a toy company is able to fix one issue, there's still another one. There's some He-Man figures like that too. They've finally gotten the hand position that allows them to point the sword straight up, but He-Man can't look straight up. So kind of the same issue here, but this hand does allow you to give one of these really nice pointing the sword in threatening manner at some Decepticon headmasters. And he comes with a pair of alternate faces too. I don't think this one is going to fit on Hannibal, so I think we'll have to put him into Fortress Maximus head mode for that one. But here's the alternate Hannibal head. Just yelling, mouth open, very easy to install. The original one just pulls right off, and then you can just stick the new one in, click. A little more of a dynamic action look to him. And just to confirm, no, does not fit. And here's a closer look at the hand blaster. Really nice pearlescent paint job to it. Very similar to the original Cerebros gun. And it's got the little tab. Like a lot of Transformers weapons do these days. That'll just feed in there securely. Now he's ready to rock with blade or blaster. And a couple of side-by-sides. Here he is first with the original G1 Cerebros, who has a gigantic head. It's so gigantic it has its own weather system that not only satellites but small moons orbit Cerebros. So they've definitely corrected the large melon issue with Hannibal. And this is a Japanese sword that came with the Japanese version of Fortress Maximus. That one was all cast in black. The FansToys one is in red, like the show, and a side-by-side of the blasters. They've really recreated every tiny little detail. There's these little lines inside the G1 blaster, and they are on the FansToys version as well. Even this little filled gap in between is there. There wasn't much you could do with the original one because it was mostly meant to be the head of Fortress Maximus, so even though his arms and legs move a bit, he's just kind of a blocky looking brick. So it's pretty cool all these years later that somebody finally did a really nicely sculpted very, very well articulated Cerebros, even if Hasbro never got around to doing it. And alongside some other Masterpiece Autobots. So the 4, or 5 if you want to include Cerebros, Headmaster Autobots from '87 are as big as Prime. I used to think that they, in terms of scale, should be about the size of Prowl, but they're huge. They're the size of Prime. So quite a bit bigger than Prowl, way bigger than Bumblebee. Pretty much head to head with Optimus Prime. And these aren't FansToys, but they go perfectly with Hannibal. This is 2 Headmasters by Make Toys, Toys. This is Cupola and Iron Will, which is their hard head and chrome dome, and the heights are pretty much perfect. Got Iron Will bent at the knees a little bit, so he appears just a tiny bit shorter. But yeah, they look perfect. And these also have that tech spec meter, although they're not functional. So that's one thing Hannibal has over the Make Toys Headmasters. And to finish off, let's transform him into head mode. And that is one giant head. Oh, yep, we got a small moon orbiting this head. It's so humongous. Even though there's no body to go with it yet, and even if you never end up getting the body, if you do end up getting this, I think it's pretty awesome constellation. This thing just on its own without a body looks fantastic. I think the base plays a big part in that. It was very smart of them to include the base, because they had to have known there's going to be some people who aren't going to be able to afford the body. And that thing is going to be, I would think, easily $1,000. So instead of just sticking it on a shelf like that, looks kind of weak. On the show, it had this base, so it's still kind of show accurate. It also comes with an extra pair of head crests, I guess what we're calling them now. And I'm not sure where I left my spare head crests, but the other version is just flat. There's just no detail at all. It's kind of funny. The original version, the pictures they released, and even the pictures on the box, the blue is much lighter. And what they ended up going with here is like a navy blue, much darker. But I really didn't like the plain ones. I need that detail for something this big. So that's why I'm sticking with the alternate head crests. And the huge gimmick here, I always believe that when something is this big, the big titans, they really need electronics. Sounds, I don't really care, but lights go a long way. And the eyes on this guy light up, as every monstrous, gigantic robot should have light up eyes. And it's a really smart way of incorporating the activation button, just having it be the chin that you push. And FansToys is the master of kind of having your cake and eating it too in terms of light up eyes. They did it with their Omega Supreme, their Terminus Giganticus, whose eyes look fantastic when the electronics are off. They almost look like they're glowing when they're off because of the reflective paint they used on the eyes, and then the eyes do light up and the light travels through the reflective paint. So they've done the same thing here with Hannibal in head mode. The eyes look spectacular. The light bounces off them beautifully. And then when you turn them on, right on, the paint isn't blocking the light all that much. A little bit, but not all that much. Got this clear piece on the forehead, which looks really cool. Again, anything to just take it from looking plain, undetailed, cartoon-looking thing to something more real-life robotic looking, I appreciate. And that sword, like on the show, can be inserted into the head just like on the show, and they've got a picture of it there. So they've put a hole here which fits the sword perfectly, and now there's no way to display this, but if you want your show accurate Master Sword plugging into Fortress, you Can you imagine if they actually leave a gap in their Fortress Maximus body so that you can actually do that, insert the head with the sword into the body? I would think they're going to do that if they've actually gone to the trouble of including that, but not that that's really necessary. I don't believe there's any way to display this this guy with his stand like that. I mean, this is not that sturdy an arm, so you would just be leaning him on there. I wouldn't trust that. Yeah, that's too bad, because that would have actually been another cool way to display him. You can just stick him on his base and then have the Master Sword on the arm back there, like so. That's something. You can also collapse the handle in like that, so that's a little bit tighter fit. And by doing that, it gives a little bit more clearance on the stand there, but still you'd be kind of balancing him on there. Still not very sturdy. I wouldn't risk it. Let's give this alternate face a try. And the alternate face comes with a little chin button as well. So in order to get that off, just get your fingernail underneath the gap there. Got your nose. And that's the battery it takes, in case you're curious. CR1220. Get them on Amazon. Don't buy them at the store. They're so much cheaper on Amazon. And pop that on there. Now he's... That is a huge mouth. The chin button activates the eyes. I need to go find like a cookie, a figure cookie or something. Hit up my Slimer for some food and see if it'll fit in there. There's actually lots of snacks on the turtle shelf. So let's try a donut. And there's Mikey's sausages. We also got a pie. His mouth is so huge, a whole pie will fit in there. And pizza slice. I think he needs to go crust first. Almost looks like a tongue. He looks like Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. Shout out to my pals on Armchair Directors. We just did Spaceballs movie commentary. That was a blast. And watermelon. And side by side with the original G1 Cerebros and Fortress Maximus head mode. He had kind of foil looking eyes, which sort of made him look light up. Can't compare that though. Quite a few of the original details are carried over. Got those lines recreated there. Even the arms, the transformation is very similar, which is cool. The legs fold up and over. It does have this big gap on the top there. It's kind of funny, the original one didn't really have a gap there. There's someone on TFW 2005, if you look up the message board they have on this guy over there, someone's done some 3D printing fill-in pieces if you really can't stand those gaps on the top. And he does come with one more little pair of swap out parts. These parts right here on the front of the head, I've swapped out the more detailed version, which looks more like the G1 version, but he also has more cartoon accurate, just flat, no detail, more toon looking. So that's fine for the people who want more toon accurate look, but I'm definitely more of a G1 detail fan. And the last thing that I can show you is Spike, or Fortress, as he was known on the Japanese cartoon. In Rebirth, the head of Cerebros is a human named Spike, and that's a custom repro labels or Toy Hacks sticker on there. But in the Japanese Headmasters cartoon, it's a robot. It's a little robot. It's named Fortress because in the Japanese cartoon, the body is actually just a suit or an attachment for this guy who is actually Fortress. This is the character, and he just pretty much drives around a body like all the others do. He's a transector. And the original Spike didn't have much articulation. Legs moved around, arms moved up and down, just mostly for the transformation, and then a flap that flipped up to hide the robot face while he's in biped mode, I guess. And this one right here, he's got quite a bit of movement for being such a little guy. Unfortunately, he's got a really loose arm right here. There's going to be those issues, but you can either be a glass half full or a glass half empty, and I'm not going to sit here and whine about that for 10 minutes. Other one is fine though. Arms can go straight up, down, a little bit of shoulder movement there too. He can shrug. That's what I do whenever I find a loose joint. Oh well. And can he do it? Spartan kick. Probably not. These feet are super fragile. If you ever get your hands on one of these, be super careful. I've seen people break these in other videos. It does have a little bit of movement here, but this is the danger zone right here. Be careful. Tilt, in theory, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much. That would be a major bummer and very, very hard to repair, if at all. Just too small a joint there. Knee articulation. Do a crane kick. Yeah, I don't really want to mess around with this guy too much. I'm a little more comfortable messing around with bigger toys, playing around with them, but as soon as you get really tiny like that, I've had too many Hot Toys accessories break on me that you're asking for trouble if you're too rough with anything that tiny. And there they are side by side, same color scheme. Most of the details recreated. Head articulation. That's crazy, look at that. He can tilt his head to the side. Yeah, he can. He can look left and right. And the face is hidden on the bag. You can just turn the face around. It's a little thing, but it's nice to be able to not have face back. Is that a thing? It is now. And that's a look at FansToys Hannibal. Don't know if I'll ever be getting their Fortress Maximus, which is Fortificus Titanicus. You never know. Plastic sometimes finds a way, but on its own, it's pretty cool in head mode, and a really awesome Cerebros in robot mode, which I think is super cool. Not just as a Fortress Maximus fan, but as a Cerebros fan. He's a completely separate character, different personality. For me, anyway. I kind of go a blend of the Japanese series and the American Rebirth series. So I like to think of Cerebros having the personality that he did on Rebirth, and then Fortress Maximus being what he was on the Japanese show. It's really cool to finally have a really detailed, superposable, fairly sturdy Cerebros. So that's what I thought of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give the like button a tap if you're so inclined. Feel free to share. And to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Nerdmastay.